What it is, man. That's right. I'll be that Sequential Geek. Welcome to my channel, Sequential Geek. I got like a short box of back issue comics that I've been collecting over at just local comic book shops here in the Denver area, and just stuff I've been accumulating online. So let's get on with the haul. A lot of books. So I was instigated to get this first appearance of Yokasta, August 1977 cover date. When I bought this comic at a comic book shop and then just went online, got it. This is Yokasta. She's attacking the Avengers Mansion. I didn't know that when Ultron created her in this comic book right here on the left. Both of them are written by Jim Shooter, by the way. I didn't know that she was made in the image of Janet Van Dyne. I'd forgotten that. So info of you about Yokasta. Both of these are cover art and interiors by George Perez with inks by Pablo Marcos. August 1977, and that's April 1978 for issue 170. George Perez goodness. Fantastic Four reprint. Yo, Marvel's Greatest Comics, number 29, December 1970 is when this reprint came out. This actually is originally from March 1963, and it's the first time the Thing and the Hulk battle. Dick Ayers doing ink on Jack Kirby's pencils. Just Stan Lee's script. Yeah. Pretty cool. What was that? 12 bucks. Classic Comics, issue number 9 out of 1976. That's a Gil Kane cover. This ran for 36 issues, and these are novel to comic book adaptations. This Bram Stoker Dracula novel was adapted by Nonary Farr with art by Nestor Redondo for the interior pencils. This comic's pretty dope. It's a Michael Linsner cover. Fang, issue number 1. That's right, first appearance of Lenore Francesca. She fights these vamps that they call Fangs in this post-apocalyptic future. It's printed by Sirius. It's another issue 1 of 4 here. And the cover for this issue right here is done by the creator, who's doing the script and the interior pencils, as well as the cover for this Fang Testament, Kevin Taylor. Baby Angel X. Yeah, way back in 2018 when I was over at the Koch warehouse, I found, I think it was like the second issue to Baby Angel X. Just found this randomly in back issue bin. Baby Angel X, gold edition font, November 1995. Scott Harrison cover. He does the cover and the interiors from this comic published by Brainstorm. Just a quick $1 book. DC Comics Essentials, reprinting Batman The Dark Knight Returns. The issues of that graphic novel. Yummy Pho. I reviewed one of these comics in one of my past hauls. Issue number 1, December 1986. So you could say this is the first issue published by Vortex Comics, but actually the writer, Chester Brown, he had originally done a 7-issue mini-comic from July 1983 to September 1985, self-published. And then that got reprinted, and then he added on some more issues of Yummy Fur. The first 24 issues right here were printed by Vortex Comics, and then 25 to 32, the remaining issues, were published by Drawn and Quarterly, and it lasted until 1994 altogether. has some off-the-wall stories, some stuff where he kind of like mixes up language, kind of like how George Harriman would mix languages up. Chester Brown has a comic strip in here, a story, because this is usually like 2 stories, and the second story is usually some adaptation of a story from the Bible. Very cool, really interesting. I think he's very overlooked, underrated writer-artist, Chester Brown. Swamp Thing, issue number 103 from January 1991, and Swamp Thing, issue number 109 from July 1991. This is really just a nice cover. I like People in Embrace. That's one of the types of covers that I like to collect. Not all of them, but just the ones I thought are done well. So it's just a cool cover there with Abigail and Swamp Thing. And issue 103 on the left is the first appearance of Alan Hallman, and he was the host of The Green before Alec Holland. This is the last part of this 6-part story, Quest for the Elementals, and all the covers are by Ian Miller. It's really fucking fantastic artwork. So if you get a chance, just to check out online the covers alone for these. But yeah, I just like this cover of all of them for Quest for the Elementals. And then just before the 6-issue series starts, the 6-issue story arc for Swamp Thing starts, you've got this issue. I just thought it was really cool artwork. Some cover art buys. I have finally accumulated, for reading purposes, reader copies of these 6 issues. So maybe I'll do a review on that. Erotique, Jaguar God. Just need like issue number 2, I think, and I'll have all the issues of Jaguar God. It ran for 7 issues. So check it. Jaguar God, issue 5 there on the left from September 1996, and number 6 here out of April 1997. Pretty fucking cool. Martin Imond. He's done a lot of covers for Verotic. And yeah, man, he did a cover here for Jaguar God. Check out that booty right there. There you go. It's a whole cover for you. And this cover is by not Frank Frazetta, actually. Frank Frazetta did a lot of these Jaguar God. His artwork was used for a lot of these Jaguar God covers. But let's see if I can get rid of the glare. Jaguar God 6, the cover is by Liam Sharp, and he also did the interiors. But Liam Sharp, he did some Swamp Thing covers last year in the summer of 2022. Don't you know? Sorry for the glare. In honor of Black History Month, I showed off a bunch of really cool comic books, and I had a beat-up copy of this, and I finally found a really nice copy at a comic book shop. This is the first part in a 3-issue story arc of Fantastic Four, 168, 169, 170, where you have Luke Cage temporarily replacing the Thing. This is one of the comics where Ben Grimm becomes, or the Thing becomes Ben Grimm. And if you're a collector of those comics, here's one of them for you. And then Ben Grimm, he's still Ben Grimm, I think in issue 170, 171, but Mr. Fantastic, it might actually be the first appearance of that Thing suit, that mechanical suit. That's where it comes from, issue 170, 171, something like that. All right. Oh, by the way, it's not, in case you're wondering, it's a Roy Thomas story. Rich Buckler art with Joe Sennett doing the inks. And I'm just filling in now some of my Fantastic Four John Byrne comics. You saw that video I did earlier this year about John Byrne. I know it's pretty long, but I showed off a bunch of John Byrne comics. This is issue 217, the first time when John Byrne did interiors for Fantastic Four. It was from 209, I believe. 209 to 218, and then John Byrne returned for issue 220 and 221. In this one, it was a 2-issue story arc. He just did the writing and the artwork, whereas issue 220 he did the writing, the interiors, and the cover artwork. Joe Sennett was doing the inks. Bill Sienkiewicz cover. Bill Sienkiewicz and Doug Munch wrote the Fantastic Four from 222 to 231, and then that's when John Byrne started his epic run from like 232 to 292. Another filler issue right here, 234. Who is he? What is he? Do we care? It's just a filler comic. All right, issue 236. This is just one of my favorite covers of the Fantastic Four by John Byrne. For anyone who collects Stan Lee appearances, here's a Stan Lee image right in there. And also for Jack Kirby collectors out there, there is a story that Jack Kirby did the artwork for that was originally for the Fantastic Four cartoon. And then that artwork was used as one of the stories in this anniversary issue, this little oversized issue here, 20th anniversary. Issue 236 came out in November 1981. And I gotta say, having it be direct is my preference, considering it's like from like the very early 80s and earlier. I would say, yeah, make it direct, 82 and earlier. Some more filler copies here. Issue 251. I'm just getting all John Byrne, at least VF Plus copies of John Byrne's run up until issue 292. Issue 254. Whoa, really nice red there. Clean spine, newsstand copy. And now these, you gotta go to Harry Bauer, his YouTube channel. He's doing these motion comics. I normally don't recommend motion comics. I find them very cheesy and terrible. His are actually great. It's at Harry Bauer's channel, and I've recommended it before during my John Byrne vid. And the reason that I'm emphasizing it right now is that the story arc that he did in this particular story, where Dr. Doom is trying to reverse engineer, he wants to recreate the power cosmic, and he tests it out on the body, the recovering, shit, I'll keep wanting to call this guy Thanos, Terex, the Destroyer, right? And then he uses his original name that he had before Galactus made him Terex, Talos, I think. Somebody correct me on that. Check out Harry Bauer's channel. I don't know the guy. Just thought he did a really great job adapting this particular story. Pretty fucking cool. And just got this really nice bright purple. There's 2 newsstand copies. I like that background there. That Dark Doom, just everything. Just color combination, how everything's done. Just that looks cool. It's a fun story. Nothing deep. Didn't lead to any event. Just fun superhero comic books right here. Copper Age, 1980s, Fantastic Four. I'd say like from the late 80s, from the late 70s throughout the 80s, that was like my time of originally reading comics. Nothing wrong with other eras of reading. Just for me, they are. Some of them, not all of them. This is another Stan Lee collector. This is a spoof off of Stan Lee in a sense. This is the issue where this guy's smut company had a helicopter fly over the Baxter building to see if they could get a picture of She-Hulk sunbathing topless for his mag. So found this, $5.50. Nice black spine there, newsstand. It says Fine Plus VF. Just couldn't resist. Fantastic Four, $2.79. Another run filler right there. Fantastic Four 258, by the way, has an appearance of Christophe Bernard. He first appeared, I believe, in Fantastic Four issue 247. This land is mine. Land where Zorba or Zora, some character from Latveria, had taken over the country for a minute, and Dr. Doom had to use the help of the Fantastic Four to get it back. And one of the children that he saved during that civil war was Christophe Bernard. First appearance of Malice. That's when we had the Puppet Master and Psycho Man manipulate Manhattan and created this sense of hate and fear. And they were manipulating the Fantastic Four and ended up brainwashing Sue Richards. Had her believe that she was this person, Malice, that was on their side. Really cool story. It just ran for 2 issues. 280, 281. July and August. So that's issue out of July 1985. Jerry Ordway was doing the inks right now at this point. Off and on, he was. This issue, issue 284, is the issue where Sue Storm renames herself to the Invisible Woman. Al Gordon doing the inks. John Byrne story and art. Check it. Fantastic Four, number 286. That's right, out of January 1986. Doing some X-Men artwork for a minute here. So what happened is X-Men 101, the first appearance of the Phoenix. So when Jean Grey had erupted from the surface, like a painting by Botticelli, she was actually a copy of Jean Grey that was created by the Phoenix Force. This is true. The original Jean Grey was put in some type of capsule and left on the bottom of the sea. They find the capsule. This whole story that I'm telling you is made after the fact. They added this on. Yeah, they retrograded that story with Jean Grey to bring her back after she had died off with the death of Phoenix. They wanted to bring Jean Grey back. They being, I guess, Jim Shooter and John Byrne and whoever. So when they brought her back, that also brought the introduction of the limited series. Well, it wasn't a limited series. It's supposed to be ongoing. X Factor, the original team. So this story here for Fantastic Four 286 is actually John Byrne in collaboration with Chris Claremont. So you got Chris Claremont returning, this time working Jean Grey's story out of a Fantastic Four comic book with John Byrne collaborating on the story as well. We got John Byrne doing the art with Terry Austin inks for the cover and the interior. Fantastic Four, issue number 296. Newsstand, Barry Windsor Smith cover out of November 1986. There's a Jim Shooter story in here. Jim Shooter plot with Stan Lee's script. You got Barry Windsor Smith doing the artwork. That's cool. And a bunch of other artists contributing to some other stories. You got Mark Silvestri, Al Milgrom, John Buscema, Kerry Gamble, and Ron Frenz. Special edition Fantastic Four. Decided to get this one, another copy, because I had one that had like a color-breaking spine crease. So I got this one here, $5. Really, I wouldn't pay any more than $5 for a lot of these comics. They are slowly gaining price for these Fantastic Four comics, so it's kind of hard to say these days. Special edition Fantastic Four. This comic came out May 1984. It's a reprint of the Fantastic Four Annual number 1, which was originally from 1963. Stan Lee's story. Jack Kirby pencils. So John Byrne on pages 18 through 22 had ended up like combining some panels and adding some panels and he did it while emulating Jack Kirby's artwork. FYI. Bam, wanted to get a second copy, a newsstand copy of first appearance of Power Pack. Got a color breaking spine crease right there, but besides that, it's just a really nice newsstand copy of Power Pack. First appearance of G, that would be Alex right there. You got Lightspeed, first appearance of her, that's Julie Power. Energizer, that would be Katie Power. Master, that's Jack, and they are Power Pack. All right, so you also got the first appearance of Chameleon Whitey Alfire, Whitemane, I got that name right, and his smart ship, Friday, and then also first appearance of another alien, their enemies called the Snarks. This group of heroes is created by Louise Simonson. Interior art and cover art, pencils by June Brigman. Bob Weisek doing the inks. Squadron Supreme number 11. It's out of July 1986. Just great series here by Mark Grunwald. Fucking love it. Paul Ryan doing the cover and the interiors. The artists were changing up for this 12-issue limited series that came out in the mid-80s. Just another like alternate reality of these superheroes that decide, kind of like with the Authority, they want to take over the Earth. One of the plot devices in this story arc is they've got this machine that will just control your mind. If they put you through it, tell you what to think, what to do. I wanted to get a run of Direct. I thought I already had a run of Direct. I do, but then I was looking at my list, and then I realized, oh wow, if all I get is just 4 more issues, I'll have doubles in direct. So I just got to get 3 more issues to get doubles in direct of that. And then this one I just started getting a run in newsstand. This is the first issue of Squadron Supreme, September 1985. That's a Bob Hall cover. The first appearance of Skymax, first appearance of Ada, this artificial intelligence. This takes place on Earth 712. And you got Bob Hall doing the art on the first 5 issues as well as issue number 8. Squadron Supreme, issue number 2, October 1985. So there's that machine that they use to try and control your mind. I think one of the guys was like in love with her, with Lady Lark, this Arrow dude. So this is first appearance of Quagmire, is issue number 4. I don't have the 5th issue yet in newsstand, but the 5th issue would be the first appearance of Lamprey, The Shape, Dr. Decibel, Foxfire, and Apex. Issue number 9, check this out. You can tell that it is Bill Sienkiewicz doing the inks on these Paul Ryan covers. I think it's the one time Bill Sienkiewicz does the inks. You can totally tell right there. Pretty cool. In issue number 9, Tom Thumb dies. And the last issue, issue number 12, out of August 1986, Paul Ryan cover. Yep. I think there might be some deaths in this one, not sure. All right, Swamp Thing. Just a few Swamp Thing comics here. Love it. Swamp Thing, issue number 41, newsstand copy. John Tottleman doing the cover painting there out of October 1985. So Swamp Thing, you know how it originally ran like, what, 1972 to 74, and then it picked up again in 1982, and that was Saga of the Swamp Thing. So this one right here is October 1985. John Tottleman painting. Pretty cool. And the interior artwork is actually by Stephen Bissette. But Stephen Bissette, you know, he did a lot of inking over John Tottleman's work, like at the Miracle Man series. So this is just like with the Miracle Man series, written by Alan Moore. Don't you know? It's interesting. I found one at one point shopping, and then in a different area of the same shop, I found issue 42. So I just thought that was cool. I got them both. November 1985, Stephen Bissette doing the cover here. John Tottleman inks, Alan Moore, Stephen Bissette story. This is the first appearance of Yggdrasil, that Norse mythology tree of life. Yggdrasil. Swamp Thing issue number 89. And the deal with Yggdrasil is that that tree is the leader of Parliament of Trees. And that's the first appearance of DC's version of Yggdrasil. Story by Doug Wheeler. Tom Yeats. Interior artwork. Uh-oh. Thing-on-thing violence. This is issue number 20 of Swamp Thing, the first volume. All right? Because then, like I said, you had Saga of the Swamp Thing that started in 1982. And then the previous Swamp Thing volume, the first volume was this one right here. It ran from 1972 to 74. And this volume 1, issue 20, is the Mirror Monster story. It's the December 1975 / January 1976 issue. And Ernie Chan cover with Jerry Conway doing the story. Nestor Redondo doing the interiors. Nestor Redondo, he was the artist that did the interiors for this Bram Stoker adaptation of Dracula. Just realized that. I do not recall what the first issue is a reprint of, but this is the second issue of the comic titled DC Special Series. So that's what you're looking at here. It's not DC Proudly Presents, it's DC Special Series number 2, came out in 1977. And this is the original Swamp Thing number 1 reprint. That was in October, November of 1972. Written by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, which was 1 year later after the creation of Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson in 1971. So then 5 years later, after the Swamp Thing started, they did this reprint of the first issue. X-Men. In my previous haul, I showed off the original issue to this. What was it? The Mutant Massacre started, I think, in issue 210 of the Uncanny X-Men. And then at one point in the game where you've got this crew of evil mutants that were led by Mr. Sinister, they're exterminating all these Morlocks. I think Mr. Sinister wants to use the space where the Morlocks are living. So you have Mr. Sinister's team, the Marauders. He sent them down to the depths beneath the sewers, Manhattan, all these tunnels where these Morlocks live. These like deformed or just outcast type mutants. And Mr. Sinister wanted the space they lived in or what, but you got these evil mutants being sent in these tunnels. It's knocking off mutants, committing genocide, killing Morlocks. This is a reprint of the first part of the fight, Wolverine versus Sabretooth. One of the cool things about this fight is you didn't know much about Wolverine. That was part of him, was his mystique. And so these little references that Sabretooth is making, Wolverine are making towards each other, establishing that they had this history. Obviously, you know, Wolverine with his healing factor, he's a lot older than what he is, and it's just adds to the mystery. He's a lot older than what he looks like, so it's very cool. Barry Windsor Smith cover. It's actually Rick Leonardi that did the interiors. And although the original issues came out in 1986, this is a reprint from early 2000s, I think around 2005. It's a comic that came with one of the Toy Biz figures for either Wolverine or Sabretooth. Sorry for the glare. Here's the second part. Cover and interiors for issue number 213 are by Alan Davis. Scripts are all by Chris Claremont. That's January 1987 right here. This comic, Lobo number 1. Very awesome comic right here out of 1990. This is the first series that Lobo had. This 4-issue limited series, 104. It's the first print, newsstand. I figure if it's $10 or less and newsstand and there aren't any spine ticks, corners are sharp, pages are white, then buy it. What the hell? So what? Okay, a couple bucks more, $10. But I see this as a book whose bottom is going to become $20. It's going to reach a new bottom. Lobo he's too unique as well as too popular. It's one thing for something to be unique, but it's also very popular. Yeah, I think there's hope with James Gunn, the new bottom with Lobo. So if you see this book, first print, it's one of these no-brainers for me. You can get it for around $10. You could probably still get it for less than $10 at most places still. Denver area, the shops here are very conscious of the market, so. Grendel, issue number 1, some Copper Age goodness right here. $1.50 cover price. Comico. This is the second volume of Grendel. Matt Wagner is still writing it. This time the artwork is by Arnold and Jacob Pander. Dark Utopia one-shot out of 1997 comic art series, super real illustrations of Timothy B. Vigil. Want to see some of it? All right. It's just like pinups, I think. I know. Demon butt. There's Faust. And David Quinn, the writer of Faust. Tim Vigil doing the art. It's their label, Rebel Studios. They took over Faust from North Star around 1990, I think, 91. I think it's like the first 9 covers, 8 or 9 covers of Faust, the comic book. It's got 2 separate covers. One from when it was published by North Star, the other Rebel Studios, and then everything after, I think, 9 and later are just one cover. Wow. Tim Vigil just fucking rocking it. His artwork. God damn. Supreme Power #1. It's like this comic. I just recently gave it away, a copy of this. So I saw another nice copy of it. Decided to grab it. This is the B cover for the first issue of Supreme Power. Now this, if they wanted to deteriorate the status or publishing, stop publishing the Ultimate Comics back then by the year 2003, 2005. By 2005, the Ultimates label was just going to crap. Supreme Power issue #1. It's October 2003. They really should have took off. J. Michael Straczynski and Gary Frank's version of those Squadron Supreme heroes. This like modern take. That was originally what the Ultimates was, and it was just successful at it. Like taking stories from the 60s, from Marvel, their original story runs, and giving 21st century interpretations of them. I thought that's what they were going to do with the Ultimates, and then they just started fucking it up. It was really successful in that sense at first with the Ultimate line. So this Supreme Power story was sort of like the same vein as the original purpose of the Ultimates, and it just was this 21st century like take of Squadron Supreme that was done really well by J. Michael Straczynski and Gary Frank. I think in the second volume that they did, they introduced the super team that was from Africa too, that they teased. And I just wish they had expanded upon all of these. I know that there was a limited series for Nighthawk. This is Nighthawk's first appearance right there on the right. Supreme Power issue #4, January 2004, first appearance of Kyle Richmond. And this is Earth 31916. So, and this guy's parents are, I think they're killed in a racially motivated drive-by shooting. And so he is a superhero out of Chicago, kind of like a Batman version, who is fighting these white supremacist-based criminals. I think mainly that's what he's fighting. It's fucking profound. It's awesome. And yeah, wish they would have expanded more upon the Supreme Power universe. In that February haul, got some more books in the mail since then. I showed off the first print and the second print of Brotherman. I just want to show you April 1990. Here is a first printing. Finally. Yeah, Guy A. Sims doing the writing. David Sims, who changed his name to Dawood Anyabwile, doing the artwork. I think it's Jason Sims. He's the other brother. Just helped him with distribution and publishing. And these guys, around 1990, I think in 89, they went to this Black Business Expo in New York. They're from the New England. And they had an airbrush company. And they went there to promote their company, but then they were inspired by just a bunch of stuff they saw, so they decided by the next expo in 1990 that they would create a comic book, this comic book, to promote their airbrush company. And it took off. They did a total of 11 issues. And issue #11 is extremely hard to find. This guy doesn't have any powers. I believe his name is Anton Valor. He's a lawyer by day and superhero by night. It says the power discipline. And pretty fucking cool. Yeah, issue 11 is extremely hard to find, y'all. Here it is. I got a hell of a deal. I got another copy of issue 1 in first print. And this is out of 6 years. 6 years I returned to collecting. My third wave of comic book collecting. It kind of feels like it's kind of coming to a close from 2016 till now. Finally, I got issue 11. Got all 11 issues right here. Yeah. There's issue number 1. If you want to see the rest, check out my video from February. I also showed off in a previous comic book haul another one of these Marvel Superhero Secret Wars coloring books. This is the coloring activity book, Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. This is the first one, the first print out of 1984. So if you see this, the crime of centuries. I did open up the other one that I found, and it had a different poster than this one. I did open that other one up, the other coloring book that had the poster. This one, I'm leaving it intact because this is the poster that represents the first issue of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. And this is actually written by David Anthony Kraft. He wrote that. Browning around the edges. Olive. Carlos Garzon doing the interior arts here for this coloring book. All right. Probably not really anything to do with the actual story, but since it had the poster representing that first issue of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars that was originally out of 1984, looks like the same year here we got these coloring books that popped up from Marvel Books. Psyched to get that. Now this one, Savage Tales, issue number 4. It's out of April 1986, and that's a Joe Jusko cover. Joe Jusko. And he also did the cover for the last 2 issues of Savage Tales, which was issues 7 and 8. Now, if I understand correctly, this is the first published artwork, professionally published artwork of James O'Barr. See if I can find it. Okay, so this is the first published artwork of James O'Barr, right? G-Forces, page 56, page 55. All right. It's the back of the book, really nice condition. G-Forces by J. O'Barr. Anyone who follows this channel knows I am a collector of James O'Barr. James O'Barr's first published work, professionally I believe, Savage Tales 4, April 1986. I don't normally collect trade paperbacks, but I've heard some people saying how trade paperbacks are going to be the main form of reading comic books in the future. If you want to buy something in physical form, I don't know if that's true, but yeah, occasionally, very far in between. I think I have a total of half a dozen, I don't know, maybe a dozen actually, trade paperbacks that I find in really nice condition that I find to be possibly collectible. Total speculation. Right, first 6 issues right here. I think this is Batman Collected Adventures. Super nice condition from DC. Kelly Puckett doing the stories there to Ty Templeton's art. NYX Wannabe. That's the first printing of this trade paperback. Joshua Middleton doing the cover artwork. First appearance of XXIII. Joe Quesada doing the script. I remember those Aliens videos I just did recently. Well, we got yourselves here that precursor story that led up to that whole Aliens Jodorowsky movie. It wasn't for Dune by Frank Herbert, but this comic book series right here that lasted for 3 issues was actually based off of David Lynch's movie. Came out in the early 80s. This is the comic book adaptation to it. Bill Sienkiewicz did not only the covers, but he actually did the interiors. Ralph Macchio adapted the movie script to the comic book adaptation. The third issue I had gotten in a previous haul, like, I don't know, year and a half ago, some shit. It's pretty cool having the third issue. It's got a black border, and it also has like an image of Bill Sienkiewicz showing Sting fighting the Kwisatz Haderach. (1986), Dark Horse was founded by Mike Richardson, and 2 years later, you have the Aliens franchise that they got the license for up until 2019, 2020, I believe, 2020. And then it went over to Disney, Marvel, whatever. So now, early Aliens comic books, like I was saying in those earlier vids that I made, you've got the Predator franchise, you got the Aliens franchise. Both of those licenses for comic books are owned by Dark Horse. So 1988 is when they started doing the Aliens comic books with a 6-issue limited series. And this is issue number 4. I got doubles of 1 and 6, and now I got doubles of issue number 4. I just love the tones of these blues. All the stories in those Aliens limited series were written by Mark Verheiden. There were 3 Aliens limited series. The last 2 were 4 issues, and the first one was 6 issues. Yup. The first time you see Ellen Ripley and Xenomorphs in comics is actually the Heavy Metal magazine one-shot in 1979, that adaptation of the Alien movie. And then you see the Aliens movie characters Hicks and Newt 13 years after the Aliens movie. And that's here in this Aliens limited series. And then Ellen Ripley shows up in the last panel, the last page of the second limited series called Aliens Nightmare Asylum. All of them are written by Mark Verheiden. The second series was painted by Dennis Bovias. And the third 4-issue limited series, the last one, was art by Sam Keith. The return of Ellen Ripley. So Ellen Ripley, Newt, and Hicks all team up together in that last part, Earth War, covers by John Bolton. And that culminates, and that whole saga starts right here with Aliens, the 6-issue limited series, issue number 4. Got doubles of, like I was saying. And that first Aliens limited series lasted 88, 89. And then at the end of 89, you have Dark Horse Presents issue number 34 and issue number 35. Those were the first 2 parts. And then, because issue number 34 was like the point of view of the aliens. Issue number 35 showed how the Predators had their decision-making process worked. First appearance of Top Knot. He's a reoccurring Predator. That's in issue 35. And then the next issue, the last issue 36 right here, you've got the first appearance of the aliens, the Xenomorphs, fighting or being hunted by the Predators. So it's the first appearance of Aliens versus Predator in issue 36 of Dark Horse Presents. Issue 36 is the only one with a B cover. That's this one right here, painting by Dave Dorman. The A covers, which just the regular covers, they weren't really doing B covers that often. There were some, but the regular covers were actually done not by the interior artist Phil Norwood. They were done by Chris Warner. Chris Warner was the guy that came up with the idea to show Predators hunting Xenomorphs and to have it be shown here for the first time in this issue. Mike Richardson, the founder and president of Dark Horse Comics, credits Chris Warner, this writer, editor, artist, with setting all this up with Aliens versus Predator. And just gotta say, if you really want to find out info, get a primer on early Aliens and Aliens vs. Predator comics. Check out those vids I just did recently. FYI. Aliens vs. Predator number 1 is right here. Aliens vs. Predator 0, that came out in like July of 1990. That is a compilation. That's the collection of issues 34, 35, and 36. So that's the 0 issue. The previous month in June 1990, you got the first issue of Aliens vs. Predator. And then it's like August or September, you got the second issue of Aliens versus Predator. And then here are 3 and 4. These are all doubles. I know I've shown these before, like I said in those videos I referenced, but now I'm just getting some doubles. Machiko Noguchi. Her first appearance is right here in issue number 1. And if you are wondering what type of characters might become prominent if they want to base stories off of the Dark Horse canon, then besides Newt and Ellen Ripley and Hicks, Machiko Noguchi would be a protagonist I'd want to hunt down. Her first appearance is right here, Aliens vs. Predator, issue number 1. Randy Stradley, by the way, is the writer for these Aliens vs. Predator stories. This is a reprint, my second copy now, of the first issue, Aliens vs. Predator number 1. This came out in 2010. There were 3 separate, just like with the Aliens comic books, they had 3 separate limited series. Well, Machiko Noguchi has 3 separate limited series. Aliens vs. Predator, and then you've got Aliens vs. Predator War, and then you've got Aliens vs. Predator 3 World War, which came out the same time as this reprint of the first issue, 2010. So those are the 3 Machiko Noguchi stories. She's a human. She ended up getting taken in. This is a very compressed story right here that I'm saying. She got taken in by the Predators. And then by the Aliens vs. Predator War, by the end of that story, she ends up telling the Predators to kick rocks, basically. In between Aliens vs. Predator and Aliens vs. Predator War, right? So in between those 2 stories, you've got some things that happen that we should probably keep track of, right? How? First of all, like I said, the Dark Horse Presents story, issue 34, was when it started. Issue 35 is the first appearance of Top Knot. This is issue 36 that I'm showing, the first appearance of AVP. And then this is the first appearance of Light Stepper. Okay, he's another reoccurring character. He's not the head of their tribe, Top Knot is. The main decision maker, Deshande, he got killed by the end of this 4-issue Aliens vs. Predator story. He's the one that blooded Machiko Noguchi at the end of this at issue 4. But that was his last dying act. And then Machiko Noguchi joins their tribe, but she doesn't join until Aliens vs. Predator story that's in Dark Horse Presents 5th year anniversary special. That one-shot story shows how she meets up with Top Knot. He brings the tribe to go find out what happened to Deshande. And then she joins by the end of that story, that little one-shot. And then when Aliens vs. Predator War happens, that's the next limited series that follows Aliens vs. Predator in 1995. So in September 1994, you've got the last issue of Dark Horse Comics, issue number 25. So this is like my 3rd copy. 2 different covers on each side. This cover right here is actually not the interior artist. That's a Paul Menza cover. Just for this particular story, Top Knot makes an appearance in this story. It shows Light Stepper's first appearance. He's going out to hunt, to become blooded. He has one of these xenomorphs, that mouth that, retracts inside their jaw. That internal mouth, it pops out and bites off his mandible, his lower right mandible, and then the blood, after he kills it, he loses his hand. So he's this one-handed predator. He's the one-handed predator that appears in Predator Duel. Predator Duel is just these 2 issues right here, and you've got these colonial marines that respond to a distress signal. Turns out it's a predator distress signal. And when they go to check it out, this is also the first appearance of a pred alien. And it ends kind of like a tribute to John Carpenter's The Thing, where the only people left alive is one human, and there's one predator, Light Stepper. And in Aliens vs. Predator War, right? War. Machiko Noguchi, she, right here, when she's living in one of the ships, one of the predator ships, motherships, she notices a predator with one hand and how he has a colonial marine flag tied around the stump on his arm. And she like grabs it, and it's like this huge fault. It's this huge offense. I mean, the guy's got his limb decapitated. He lost his hand. You don't be taking people's like gauzes or scarves or whatever that they have wrapped around their limbs, right? So she just grabs it because she's shocked that it's a human's. She wants to know where he got it. So she gets like demoted as far as her role on the next hunt. So she has to stay on the ship. This is now Predator War that I'm talking about. And it's interesting because this is starting to become like a culmination with her just realizing that she's not fitting in here. She's a human. She shouldn't be living with predators. That starts actually with Predator War. Their issue 0. Yeah, right here. Because issue 0, it shows how, you know, there's this one predator that she nicknames Shorty, and he's always giving her a hard time, mocking what she says, and they're trying to hunt this queen, and he locks her in the room where the queen is, and she almost dies trying to find the queen, help them hunt the queen, and a queen alien, queen xenomorph, and, you know, to disgrace this guy Shorty, she ends up saving his life in front of other predators, and then to get back at her, Shorty ends up locking her into this vault, this space in the predator mothership where they're holding the queen. So she gets out, she escapes and frees herself in the ship, and none of the predators care. They don't even give her like a thumbs up, pat on the back. They just walk away after she keeps recovering from other predators trying to sabotage what she does. And she's not getting the respect after she keeps surviving all of these little acts of sabotage and hate that she's getting. That story right here, Aliens vs. Predator War 0, that is a culmination of Dark Horse Insider. This was a free publication that you would get at comic book shops, a promo from Dark Horse. They would have a couple pages that were a reprint of a story, black and white, but then they would also additionally have 2 or 3 pages that was an ongoing story. This is the second volume in 1992, and the first 14 issues of the second volume would have a story called Aliens vs. Predator Part 2. And Aliens vs. Predator Part 2 is not some comic book limited series that follows up Aliens vs. Predator. What it does is it follows up how after Aliens vs. Predator, you've got Dark Horse Presents 5th Year Anniversary Special. So she joins Top Knot. She joins the clan, and then what happens to her afterwards, you find out right here in these 14 issues. And those 14 issues are compiled as Aliens vs. Predator War, issue number 0. That's right. Yep, out of 1995. Aliens vs. Predator War number 1, and that ran for 4 issues, 1 through 4. And that's all out of 1995, and that's all by the same writer of Aliens vs. Predator, which is Randy Stradley. Issue 2, issue 3. We got ourselves a blowtorch. And these predators, they're going to go out and send one of their seeding vessels to this planet that is inhabited by humans. And then in the last issue here, Machiko Noguchi, since she had to stay behind, she's hearing on the radio these other humans here that are leftover survivors from another limited series that started earlier this year, 1995, Aliens Berserker, about these humans that have these like almost like Hulkbuster type armors that are used to fight the xenomorphs. These 3 are the only survivors from that limited series. So she hears their distress call. She hears how there's some humans saying, yeah, come out to this planet. I think it's called Barda or Bunda or something like that. Anyway, she knows that the predators are going to be seeding that planet with xenomorphs, and she's just like, fuck it. At this point, she lets the queen that they had stored on their vessel The one that I referenced that she had narrowly escaped from when they had her stored at the end of Aliens vs. Predator 2, which is compiled in Aliens vs. Predator War Zero. Anyway, she's getting sick and tired of these predators treating her like she's less than Yaucha, right? Like she's less than human. And Richard Corbin did the art for all of these Aliens vs. Predator War covers. Here's issue 2 and 4. Here's 3 and 4. Submarine torch and a predator. And then, you know, at the end, she leaves with the humans. It's her first time being with humans. Her first time this Japanese human, Michiko Noguchi, is with humans in years. And like I said, the third limited series that Michiko Noguchi is in 2010. So we're talking like 15 years after this one. Aliens versus Predator 3 World War. I think it's in Aliens versus Predator 3 World War. To 2010, they weaponized, the Predators weaponized the xenomorphs, I think. Whatever that means. They try and use them as trained pets, but everybody's trying to use the xenomorphs as trained pets. Stronghold, I did show this in that Aliens haul, AVP, those 2 vids I did, but I did not have issue number 2, and I had a crummy copy of issue 1, so got a couple nice copies here. Check out this guy right there. He's like, what's up? That is an alien with an attitude. No, it's actually a robotic alien. That's right. First appearance of Jerry, the synthetic alien, is in the comic there on the left. Alien Stronghold, number 1, May 1994. That synthetic alien was made by Dr. Nordling. Of course, everything goes terrible. They all die at the end, pretty sure, except for Jerry. I think Aliens Harvest was the first synthetic alien, Norbert. And I think Stronghold is this guy, Dr. Nordling, that creates this upgraded version, his own version of a synthetic alien. I got to revisit those stories. The facts straight between Jerry and Norbert. I think Norbert came first out of Aliens Harvest, that limited series. Yeah, I think that one was first. And then you've got Stronghold. Either way, it's stories about people that are addicted to that xenomorph jelly, and they're trying to find ways to get into the hive. And these guys are creating synthetic aliens to see if they can use them to sneak inside, get that jelly. Aliens Colonial Marines, number 1, January 1993. That's a Robert Mentor cover. I think it's Robert Mentor that's going to be doing the covers. First appearance of Private Carmen Vasquez. Here she is in the cover of issue number 2. Robert Mentor doing the covers. Talking January, February 1993. Chris Warner wrote the first 3 issues. And then from then on out, it was written by Kelly Puckett from issues 4 to 10. And Kelly Puckett finished it off, although right here it says it's supposed to be a 12-issue limited series. So this is kind of following up to 1992's, you know, in Alien 3, you had that xenomorph that took the shape of the creature of which the egg had burst out of. So a dog, right? So they called it the dragon in Aliens 3. So that alien was bipedal. It was on 4 limbs, 4 legs. It took more of the characteristics of that dog, of which a chestburster had burst out of. So in that vein of keeping that type of concept consistent, Dark Horse used it in this story here. It's the second world that they go to. I think the first setting for Colonial Marines, the story by Chris Warner, it's in this like asteroid closer to the sun because it's got like a railgun where they use to just eject material out into space. So the second world that they go to, the second place, is this thing called Bracken's World. It's covered by water. And so you got these like aquatic based xenomorphs, right? So the second half of their body is more like a fishtail. Pretty cool cover, isn't it? I got 2 of them. I decided to get two. So those previous covers were by Robert Mentor. These are actually Joe Phillips covers from issue 4 and 5. Issue 6 is the first appearance of Herc Mondo. I had shown that off earlier. Finally found a nice copy of issue 7. Herc Mondo, he's like this mercenary that just came in to help the colonial marines. Carmen Vasquez, by the way, she is the sister of that real butch marine, that one woman that was in the second Aliens movie out of 1986. Apparently she dies the last issue, issue 10 of this series. But I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her back just for that historical connection with that other marine from the Aliens movie. Not sure. And I got issue number 8 here. I've found copies of 9 and 10, the last 2 issues, but just I keep finding them with a bunch of spine creases. And I figure something that came out in the mid-90s, 93. This came out in 1993. It's going to have a high print run, so I was just trying to get picky about the condition. Free Comic Book Day, Alien Predator, May of 2009, just so you can see here. There's the other side of it. Predator side. 2009, not sure if I said that year correctly. May 2009, Free Comic Book Day. Check this out. Aliens Defiance, issue number 1, April of 2016. This is the first appearance of not only Amanda Ripley in comics, I believe, her granddaughter. I think it's Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda Ripley. It's her first appearance in comics here. Also, though, it's the first appearance of Zulu Hendricks. Story is written by Brian Wood. The interior art is by Tristan Jones, and this particular issue here had 3 separate covers. This one is by Chris Warner, the creator of Aliens vs. Predator. He did the artwork for this cover, and that is Zulu Hendricks on the cover. First appearance of Zulu Hendricks. Y'all like Sam Keith? I knew you did. Dark Horse presents issue number 12. This is a new Alien story out of May 2012. This is an anthology, right? Dark Horse presents. And this is just the first part of a story I thought was cool because it's got artwork by Sam Keith. Cover and interior. Switch gears now. Some Marvel. Wizard Ace Edition. This is a reprint of X-Men number 94, the first issue of X-Men, following up after Giant Size X-Men with the new team. Probably one of the only reasons to get an acetate cover these days is these types of Wizard Ace Edition comics. Frank Quitely did the cover here. Pretty sweet. Here's a book that brought me back into comics. This is an Ethan Van Sciver cover. Just thought it was cool. It was like, finally, they're hooking up, right? Jean Grey and Logan. Uncanny X-Men 394. The reason I got this is because it's a newsstand. Under $5 too, with no spine creases. Nice corners. Yeah, fucking A. Joe Casey with Ian Churchill doing the interior artwork. Yeah, Marvel was about to change gears big time around this time. Just for a few years. Wizard Pre-Press edition of New X-Men. So first page's preview. Written by Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely. Got this unopened bag here. Frank Quitely doing the cover. I just love this era. It's one of the things that got me back into reading comics. Not just superhero comics, but of the superhero comics that got me back in. I started reading a lot of more Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly and so forth. But look at that date. June 2001. Yeah, by the end of 2000, beginning of 2001, I started to frequent comic shops, definitely by spring of 01. So just wanted to get this. Good memories. With these, I just need one more new X-Men comic, and now I'll have 4 quads in newsstand from 114 to 140. I got triples of that run, 151 to 154 by Grant Morrison, like a Days of Future Past type story where they show Beak as an adult. It's really fucking cool, but it was this type of style that was kind of just making comics more stylish, making comics more diverse as far as types of storytelling, more adult in a sense, just taking things more characteristic based out of a 21st century POV, really. Especially the use of like the growth hormone drug and the secondary mutant power that they were trying to evolve with, but people revealing their identities, getting rid of that concept of not having privacy, not being able to be anonymous was starting to be ingrained too with people in the early 21st century. So they were doing that through stuff like with the new X-Men comics, and Daredevil and Captain America revealed his identity, and all these people were like, this is who I am. So, except in this story arc, Cassandra Nova took over Professor X's body, and then I think it was during that when she had him reveal that he was a mutant on TV. Issue 114 and issue 115. First appearance of Cassandra Nova and Emma Frost joins. Issue 115 there is the first appearance of Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Issue 116. That is September 2001. Just a really hot Frank Quitely, Emma Frost cover. Issue 117, October 2001. Another Frank Quitely cover. First appearance of Beak. First appearance of Glob Herman. First appearance of Cephalopod and Paco. First appearance of Crater and Forearm. And also this one character called Mammoth from the Imperial Guard. There's a lot of other first appearances of Lalandra's Shire Imperial Guard in this comic. Issue 118. That's my 4th and 5th copy of 118. November 2001, Frank Quitely cover. First appearance of Angel Salvador. Also, the first appearance of the Stepford Cuckoos. In particular, you got the 5 Mindy, Phoebe, Sophie, Esme, and Celeste. You also have the first appearance of Cerebella in issue 118. All right, yeah. Issue 119. Pretty cool image of Angel Salvador right there. First appearance of Choir. Choir's got a bunch of like mouths on her neck. This is out of December 2001. Another Frank Quitely cover. And interiors. New X-Men 120. Loving that Frank Quitely covers and interiors. This is the Nuff Said issue. So this month over at Marvel, no words, just sequential images. Frank Quitely cover and interiors of this Nuff Said issue 121. Really hard to find this one. A lot of these Nuff Said issues are really hard to find in newsstand. Issue 123. A lot of people don't like this cover. They find it to be like half-ass, cutting corners because it's like based off of a photo essentially. I can totally dig that point of view. Tony Harris did that cover with Ray Snyder inks. Ethan Van Sciver doing the interior artwork for issue 123. Issue 124, May 2002. But the interiors are by Igor Corday. Check out that Beak image right here. This is by Ethan Van Sciver, this cover for issue 125 out of June 2002. See that? Like, that's what I mean by like characteristic. What do you call it? Characterism. This is some just little innuendos that people do throughout the day. He wants to get a snack. He's hoping nobody's watching him. Maybe he's hoping. Maybe don't give a shit. He was pretty insecure when they first showed him at first, so he's probably hoping nobody's looking at him, right? Yeah. Pretty fucking hilarious. Crazy. When I saw this, I was just like, oh yeah. I'm not saying I want all comics to be like this, or there should be, you know, an entire comic book showing everybody's everyday innuendos, but every once in a while, or paying attention to that a little bit more than less here and there in comics, I think is great. Little characterization moments like that, I think are fucking awesome. More characterization, less events. That's what I'm saying. New X-Men 126. Really cool group photo here, right? Whoa, 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 whoa. July 2002. It's kind of a ripoff, though, at this point. And when this came out, because of like the Watchmen cover, and other people were doing these like, oh, the broken framed cover. Oh my God. I think there was like a photo that was broken out of a frame in Astonishing X-Men 4, the one of Beast. I don't know. People were doing it too often. I think that Astonishing X-Men was after this one, though. But yeah, the whole broken frame, the whole broken glass, the photo cover. Yeah, a little bit overplayed, but still cool image by Frank Quitely. Issue 130, capping off that run here with issue 130. Ethan Van Sciver cover. Pretty sweet group photo. Gotta love the group photo, the group covers. Issue 133. First appearance of Dust. Dust. They call her Dust. I think she's from Afghanistan. Ethan Van Sciver did the interiors, although I think this is a Frank Quitely cover. Yeah, nice newsstand copy. That all black without any serious spine breaks. Nice. Yeah, that 133 newsstand came with this 134 direct. Either way you want to look at it, direct to newsstand. That issue 134 right there is the first appearance. Quentin Quire. Yes. Look at this guy. Fucking troublemaker. Yeah, riot at Xavier's. Pretty cool Frank Quitely cover. This is the Ethan Van Sciver cover right here. Pretty fucking sweet. Issue 137 out of 2003. Issue 138. Another Frank Quitely cover here. Issue 139. And issue 140 are Phil Jimenez covers. This was really hard to find. Wow, and then look at this. This beautiful spine right there. Yeah. It's not bad. Not bad for a newsstand. All that black. Holy shit. Yeah, the white is white. Not a lot of scuffage, if at all. The black is black. Hell yeah, that is some slick shit right there. Dope. So yeah, I just need one more issue and I will have 4 copies each in newsstand, at least, of New X-Men, one of my favorite runs. Brought me back into comics by Grant Morrison. All right. Ultimates. I'm trying to get doubles of Ultimates in newsstand for issues 1 through 13, the first 2 volumes. Yeah, by Mark Millar and Brian Hitch. So you want to talk freaking rare? Issue 13 in newsstand. 6 years, I've never seen it. Found one recently. Yeah, that's the last part. This is the one that has like the double centerfold, right? That shows the Battle of Washington, D.C. The pages that pop out once, twice, right? It's this huge fold out. It's pretty freaking awesome. Just a great reason to always pick this up if you see it, and even in direct in the dollar bin. But that being said, so I just need a couple more issues and I'll have just my first run of newsstand of Ultimates, the first volume. And then the second volume, I just need a couple more issues to complete getting it in doubles in newsstand. Really close to getting doubles in newsstand too with this, but there's just a couple issues I haven't even found first copies of in newsstand for this Ultimates first volume. Because, you know, we're talking 2001, 2002, 2003. This is September 2002 here on the left with this first volume. Like I said, all of the artwork is by Brian Hitch. All of the writing is by Mark Millar. But, you know, what is it? 5% newsstand run by around the year 2000. 2.5% by the year 2005 of newsstands. So yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take some time. But just finding these in this nice condition is fucking rare. And then just finding this, I didn't even know if this existed in newsstand for whatever reason, you know? So really cool to have found that. Yo, another great point about New Marvel era comics. That's NU Marvel, around the year 2000, give or take a year, to like the year 2005, give or take a year. This is one of the last times that comic stories were based on comic stories. Pretty much everything after like around the year 2000. I mean, I just didn't like the stuff that was after 2005, and then Marvel got bought out by Disney in 2008. But ever since around like 2006 and onward, it was written for a movie, it was written for a show, and then the later you get, it just was written off of a movie, based off of a show. Comics aren't based off of comics anymore. New Marvel era was this little sweet spot where Marvel was climbing out of bankruptcy and just before they sold out. So there were a lot of different types of ideas that were being applied, not necessarily all entirely brand identity driven ideas, a little bit more out of the box, more characterization based ideas that were going on around that little mini Renaissance era. I call it a Renaissance era because they were climbing out of bankruptcy and they were trying some new stuff. They were making styles and people's attitudes a little bit more modern, a little bit cooler, a little bit more out of the box, and it didn't last long till like 2005. Yeah, comics that were based off of comics, not movies. One of the beautiful things about this era. Another thing about this era is that the movies were based off of these comics. All right. Oh, and let's switch gears now to an indie level. All right, going back to the serious label. Fuck yeah. The Dark One. He is the artist and the writer of most of these Animal Mystic stories. And Animal Mystic has a spin-off character called Clore that had its own 3-issue limited series. I did a review on the first issue too. If you look at, do a search for the word review, I guess, or just Clore, K-L-O-R, on my vids. So really dig the artwork and just this whole like heavy metal type style of the Dark One stories. It's science fiction mixed with fantasy, you know, which means no rules, right? When you start going that, no rules, no like, hey, this shouldn't be like that, or why would she be riding this creature in that world? None of that. I don't know about it enough to say, and I don't think he cared. I think it's just a really cool, interesting style. What year did this come out? This came out in the mid-90s, Animal Mystic #1. This is the B cover. They had several different covers. I think there was at least an A and a B cover for this limited series. You had just Animal Mystic 1 through 4, and then he followed it up with another limited series called Animal Mystic Water Wars. All from the mid-late 90s. So Animal Mystic #1, we are talking 1995. I'm trying to get the month. Don't see the month offhand. But Greg Williams is the government name of the Dark One. Greg Williams. Published by Sirius, which is related to the Cry of Dawn Productions label. Here's issue number Dose with Clore on the cover. K-L-O-R. He's got like his full-on battle, like rhino-like battle gear here. Yeah. The backs of these covers, I believe, gonna have some really cool shit. Back of issue number 1 would be the Animal Mystic herself. Her name is Jatari. There's the back of issue number Dose. Copyright 1995. Look at that artwork. Holy Moses. Holy Moses, I say. Amen. Hallelujah. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? Fuck yeah. Oh yeah. I loves it. You know it. Check out the back of this comic. I know you already are, but these are all the backs here. Animal Mystic issue number 3, cover A. Damn, it's fucking dope. Look, if you can tell, there's a person right back here. This lady, she's looking super horny. Wow, and then here's issue number 4. Right, there's the cover. It's the back of it. So cool. So these are my second copies of these Animal Mystic issues. You got a spin-off character from Animal Mystic, Chlor. I reviewed this first issue. Couldn't resist finding these in near mint condition. 3-issue limited series. I think I got all 3 of them for 15 bucks altogether. It's definitely well under 20 bucks. So I decided to pull the trigger on it. And Chlor was like this real badass that just was looking for a fight, had a chip on his shoulder, and ended up getting his butt kicked by this old man mystic who taught him to become a member of this like monk way of life, taught him some discipline essentially. This is his origin story out of 1999, where Chlor becomes a member of the Muisha Order of Priests. See if issue 1 has anything cool on the back. Okay, nice. This is issue 1. All right, here's the back issue dose. The back of issue number 3, the 3rd issue, the last issue of the 3-issue origin story of a Chlor. Word. And on that note, I just want to say thanks a lot for watching. I want to leave you with a little tip. This is total speculation. Total speculation. Thinking if they got that movie coming out with The Crow, if that gets successful, I'm thinking if somebody wants to do their version of a derivative of that, I'm thinking what's really like a Marvel version might be Dead Girl. So what's that? It's issue 125 of X-Force you want to get. Newsstand for show. Simon Dark. This is the first appearance of Simon Dark out of DC Comics. Steve Niles and Scott Hampton did the art. Steve Niles, he's your 30 Days of Night writer, co-creator. And this is the B cover, the really hard to find B cover of the first appearance of Simon Dark. If you are able to find a newsstand copy of any Simon Dark comic, I think it ran for 18 issues altogether. It was supposed to be ongoing. I don't know what happened to it, but just the look of this character is like a combination of Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, and the Crow, among others. I'm sure you'll be able to point out. But like a lot of successful properties, you take concepts that work from other stories and you put it together, like Superman, for example. And I see Simon Dark as fulfilling that, I think, on a really successful, cool level. It's its own niche. So this type of dark arts, kind of undead type storytelling. They make him very simple, though, simple-minded. I'm not crazy about that aspect of him. That does change later on. So he's made up of the souls of these kids. Let's check out Simon Dark. As a Crow fan, a James O'Barr fan, kind of like that dark Twilight Zone sense of horror, I think Simon Dark could fit into that. And I think it could be a potential. This is total spec. But if a lot of other companies want to ride the coattails of other companies' success, which is not an outlandish thought, then they already have this property here created over at DC, Simon Dark. So I think his first appearance would be a solid spec pick. So we'll see how that goes. Appreciate your feedback, all the comments that everybody's been leaving me. You have no idea how much I appreciate those. It's really great to hear from people. Keep in touch, trying to make some new friends and acquaintances along the way. Hope everybody's psyched for a stellar summer. Stay safe. Peace.